Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Texas History for Kids. I'm your host, Michelle Gallegos, and today's episode is number 55. We are traveling back in time thousands of years ago to explore one of the most mysterious places on Earth, Stonehenge. Imagine it's 4,500 years ago. You are standing in a wide grassy field in what we now call England. In front of you are a group of ancient builders working on something that's incredible. It's a massive circle of stones that will remain standing for thousands of years. But here's the thing, they don't have cranes, trucks, or even metal tools like we use today. So how did they create these huge circle of stones with only their hands? There are hundreds of stones used to build Stonehenge, and boy, are they enormous. The tallest ones are about 13 feet high and weigh 25 tons. They're made of a type of rock called sarsen. Sarsen stones are found in southern England, and scientists believe they come from a quarry that's 20 miles away from where Stonehenge was seen. Sarsen is a hard sandstone made primarily of quartz, making it resistant to weathering. This is one reason why Stonehenge has stood the test of time all of these years. So since the location of sarsen rock was 20 miles away, can you imagine these ancient people moving something so heavy without modern machines? Now, archaeologists think they used giant wooden sledges and rolled the stones on logs. Talk about moving at a snail's pace, huh? It must have taken them forever to move those stones. Not to mention the back-breaking work on those that were rolling it. And let's not even think about the injuries that they must have suffered if the ground they were rolling on was bumpy and they moved slightly. Something could really happen to the person that was nearest that stone. But that's not even the most amazing part. Some of the stones at Stonehenge are called blue stones. They came from another part of the country called Wales, over 150 miles away. Scientists believe they floated the stones down rivers using a raft. Now, of course, their rafts were much different than what ours would look like today. It must have taken an incredible amount of teamwork and I'd say quite a bit of determination. Maybe they had some sort of ancient cheer squad like, row, row, roll that stone gently down the stream. Okay, sorry, I digress. But anyway, speaking of the stones, they all have names. So there's 5 different types of stones. The heel stone, which is a very large stone that's outside of the main circle, and it's supposed to be aligned with the sunrise during the summer solstice. The next one is the sarsen. That larger stone was formed on the outer circle and the inner horseshoe of it that were brought from Wales, and those are used in the inner circle. The slaughter stone is a fallen stone that's basically at the entrance to the stone circle, and it's named due to its reddish hue. When it's wet, it reminds people of blood, so that's why it's called the slaughter stone. Now, the altar stone is a large flat stone that lies near the center of the monument. Possibly, it was thought that it was used for ceremonies. Now, here's where things get even more mysterious. Why did they build this? Some people think Stonehenge was a giant calendar, that it lined up perfectly with the sun during the summer and winter solstices. On the longest day of the year, the sun rises directly over the stone that's called the heel stone. It's like an ancient clock or a calendar for the farmers. Remember, they didn't have calendars, clocks, or GPSs, or even a compass in those days. So the sun, the moon, and the stars became their guides. So here's why the skies were so important during this time. The first reason is tracking time. So the movement of the sun and the stars helps them to track the seasons. This was critical for knowing when to plant and harvest their crops. The solstices, which are the longest and the shortest days of the year, were key markers, and Stonehenge's alignment with the sun during these times might have been used as a giant calendar. Now, another reason why it was thought to be used was for its navigation. So before maps and compasses, people used the stars to find their way, especially at night. The North Star, for example, was a reliable point to determine the direction. They knew every night that North Star would be shining up in the sky. It was reliable. So they knew that direction pointed north. Spiritual beliefs also were another very important reason why the skies were part of this Stonehenge. Many ancient cultures believed the skies were connected to the gods or the spirits. Aligning monuments to Stonehenge with the heavens could have been a way to honor these beliefs. The predictable movements of the sun and the moon might have symbolized order and stability in their lives. And finally, they used the skies as community gatherings. Events like the summer solstice brought people together for celebrations or ceremonies, obviously. Watching the sunrise or even the sunset aligned with Stonehenge must have felt magical and very meaningful. Many scientists and historians believe it was a place for ceremonies or even a burial ground. Did you know that archaeologists have found human bones buried around Stonehenge? Maybe it was a sacred place to honor their ancestors. I don't know. What do you think? Could it have been a place for celebrations or something even more mysterious? And here's a fun fact for you. Stonehenge has survived so much. It's over 4,000 years old, and it's still standing, tall and proud, without any reason to believe that it's going to move anytime soon. Imagine what stories those stones could tell if they could talk. What secrets would they share? What have they seen? Would they tell us how they were built, or even why they were made? I don't know. Today's Stonehenge is a World Heritage Site, and people from all over the world come to visit and see its ancient beauty. Some even go during the solstice to watch the sun rise, just like people might have done thousands of years ago. It's a very magical connection to our past. But wait, Michelle, what does this have to do with Texas? This is a Texas history podcast. What's going on here? Stonehenge is across the ocean. Well, did you know you can visit Stonehenge right here in the Lone Star State? Well, you can. So Stonehenge 2 is located in none other than Ingram, Texas, in the Texas Hill Country. It's a fun and quirky replica of the famous Stonehenge in England. Now, Stonehenge 2 was the brainchild of two creative friends, Al Shepard and Doug Hill. In the late 1980s, it all started when Shepard had a giant limestone slab left over from another project. His friend Doug joked about building Stonehenge, and that's how the idea began, and they decided to go for it. So the replica includes a partial circle of stones resembling the original Stonehenge, but on a smaller scale. Two Easter Island Moai statues were later added, giving the site an extra touch of whimsy. Now, unlike the real Stonehenge, these stones are made of steel frames covered in plaster and painted to look like weathered rock. So they will not last quite as long as the real Stonehenge. They're about 60% as wide and 90% as tall as the real Stonehenge. And not surprisingly, They do not weigh as much as the original. Originally, Stonehenge 2 was located on a private property where it became a popular stop for travelers and curious visitors. In 2010, it was moved to the Hill Country Arts Foundation in Ingram, Texas, where it is now open to the public as a tourist attraction. Stonehenge 2 isn't just a fun photo opportunity either. It's also a reminder of the human creativity and the joy of reimagining history. The site hosts events including the solstice celebrations, similar to those at the original Stonehenge in England. That's today's episode, guys. If you're interested in reading more about this topic, shoot me an email with the subject line Texas Stonehenge, and I'll send you a free copy of the article and activities that accompany this podcast. Thank you for listening, and remember, yesterday is today's